Hello, good morning. Am I audible? All right.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Subhashish, please make Tarun sir also, Tarun Kulkshetra, who is a guest speaker, make him guest.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Subhashish Raman Yadav sir को भी post है. तो वो Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uttara. Good morning. You are waiting for someone?
Shall we start for 5 minutes or wait for 5 minutes? Shall we start?
Just wait for 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Because,
We are adding students also, so that if they have any queries or maybe in the discussions, they can directly ask questions.
2-3 minutes, just wait. It's fine.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar,
Hello,
Uttara ma'am.
hello, Dr. Tarun. Mr. Tarun, sorry.
Yes, Namaskar, sir. It is our privilege to call you on this event, sir.
In fact, ma'am, indeed it is my pleasure because this subject is very close to me. As a clinician, I have been managing companies,
Yes.
establishing them. So it is a good thing for me to share my experience.
Yes.
Now you can start. No? So, Tara, now
Yes,
you
sir.
can
Okay,
start.
sir. Shall we start?
Uh,
Sir, Savita Ram madam is there.
no, she's not here. She's out of station.
Okay. Okay, sir. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all the dignitaries and all the students. Am I audible properly?
Yes, yes.
Uh, in continuation with the Institutional Innovation Council activities at MGM Institute of Health Sciences, I, Dr. Uttara Deshmukh, the Associate Professor and Head of the Department of MGM Institute's University Department of Prosthetics and Orthotics, would like to take this opportunity to welcome all the dignitaries and all the students to the event. Today's topic is lean startup and minimum viable product or business, a mentoring session by Mr. Tarun Kulkshetra. I would like to welcome all the dignitaries and all the students. I would like to invite Dr. Raman P. Yadav, who is a very active person in the Institution Innovation Council. He is a convener of Institution Innovation Council and technical director of MGM IHS Omics Research Center, MGM IHS Navi Mumbai. Sir, I would like to invite you to say a few words.
Thank you, Uttara, for giving me an opportunity to say something on the innovation and allied things. First of all, good morning to everyone present for today's meeting. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, Sir, President, Medical Directors, all the faculty members, all the external members, and the most important, today's the speaker, Mr. Tarunji. Before going for this session, I would like to little bit summarize the Institution Innovation Council, as we all are aware of, given by the Ministry of Education, Government of India, to popularize and translate the innovation at higher education. So we are doing that thing under that the mission of the government under the innovation. Now, Institution Innovation Council, we are running from the last 2 years. Last year, we had a highest rating under the university category, the 4/4 star. This time, I would like to also declare or that we have just few days back, we got information or the rating is 2/2, means we are also going well in this session. Now, doing this, all this innovation concept, we are trying to translate the idea, innovation into now it is now we are focusing on the business. Now, in the business, there's a one step involved like a prototyping and other things and the product. So today's session is going to basically focus on very, very interesting topic. Even if you have an idea, if you have an innovation, can you translate your idea and innovation into the product first? And once you have a product, it's another challenge to take it forward to the mass. That is basically the real customer, but the whole business model, the sustainable business model is important. And if you see this total number of startups in our country started, that is a final is the success rate, it's a gap. So why there is a gap? And what are the methods that we can take it forward to make it a successful startup? Now talking about the lean startup, that the concept, although this concept came 20 years back, but this is the concept is really, really important for the Indian context, particularly in the developing country. So what is my opinion about the lean startup? Because we cannot, there's an anxiety. Once you have you develop a product, you have an anxiety. What type of anxiety? This anxiety is if you are going to launch directly by investing so much amount of money to the market, it may exist or may fail into the market. So there is a basically minimal viable product. So the minimal startup is now focusing a little bit on that line. But the most important, the facing the today facing the policy of the government. Just I'm giving the one example. If you see the healthcare, FDA having a set protocol, you develop a device, and you say this is the minimal viable product or the lean startup minimal viable product. That product criteria is not matching the licensing authority to give a license to you. So all over the globally, if you see there is a struggle between the minimal viable product and there is a policy and the licensing unit of that country. What I'm trying to say here is this is the most important is the coexistence of both the minimal viable product as well as the licensing. So I'm hoping today's lecture will also focus in that direction. One of the important success, if you see the globally, Uttara and Mr. Tarunji, if you see the classical example of Amazon, and if you see the origin of Amazon from the textbook or the book business to all the this digital marketing business, they have started with the minimal viable the product, and it is a succeeded. So what we are hoping in the future, the minimal viable product is of course it will be the probably the it's one of the powerful arm going to for the new startup, reduce the anxiety, and certainly will give the feedback from the customer side for the expansion of the business or advancement of the product. With this, this is the personal my opinion. Now, what is the Innovation Council? Innovation Council is a boosting all the ideas, the young idea, or the all type of idea, innovation in reforming the product development. And probably this is one of the best topic today, Uttara, you have organized lean startup and minimal viable product. One thing I would like to also mention, market is important segment when you talk about the product. So minimal viable marketing, that is other than the minimal viable product is also important. With this, trying to take the global or the national, correlating the national, because when we develop a product, it is not only for the local and the national, it has to go for the global arena. And that time, your product should exist, whatever the situation of the product. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your great words, and in a very simple language you have mentioned about the minimum viable startup and business. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Tarun Kulukshetra, who is a guest of our today's program. Just a brief introduction about Tarun sir. He is my senior, first of all, and he's a founding director and head of the business and operations of College Park Healthcare India Private Limited, which is placed at Gurgaon. He's a president society. He's a president for Society of Human Welfare and Empowerment, New Delhi. He's a technical consultant with Bhagwan Mahavir Vikalang Sahayata Samiti at Jaipur. He's founding director at the College Park. He's also has set up a society for human welfare and empowerment as a social and academic platform as a part of his endeavors to contribute the society at a large, in a particular, for the welfare of persons with disabilities. He has obtained his master's degree in prosthetics and orthotics from the University of Delhi, and since last 32 years he has a progressive experience with orthotics and prosthetics industry. He has the skills to provide clinical prosthetic and orthotic services of highest standards, That is all the innovative products he is fitting at College Park Healthcare Industry. And he is expert in lower extremity prosthetics and orthotics, establishing new P&O facilities with training and training of local manpower and managing projects in remote areas. These has been his specialities. He has served in a various setups, including non-government organizations and corporate sectors. Means he has such a vast experience from NGOs to the high-tech products, fitting of high-tech products. He has been involved in teaching activities also as a visiting faculty to the University of Delhi and PGI Rohtak. He has interest in clinical as well as academics also, and research is his weak point. So he has an ability to quickly study and put into the application of new ideas and concepts. He has exceptional leadership and organizational, interpersonal and problem-solving skills. Dedicated to self-motivated team builders, thrives is both independent and collaborative work environment. So Mr. Tarun has been actively engaged in academic and research activities, and he has participated in many national and international conferences. He has been there as a resource person as well as he has evaluating the projects of the students as well. So welcome Mr. Tarun Kulkshetra sir, and I hope the students will be enlightened with your knowledge and guidance. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Uttara ma'am. It's my privilege to have been introduced in such a nice manner. Thanks for nice introduction. First of all, I would like to convey my greetings to Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Raman, who is the convener of Institutional Innovation Council and Technical Director, Omics Research Center at MGMIHS. To you, Dr. Uttara, who is heading the Prosthetics and Orthotics Department, who is creating quite a buzz in Indian ONP industry. Kudos to you. And all the dignitaries, faculties, both internal and external faculties and dignitaries of MGMIHS and delegates. A very good morning to all of you. I take this apart. Secondly, before starting this session, Dr. Raman mentioned a very important issue that that there are well-placed regulations like US FDA, and in fact in India also these regulations are there, but since 2017 it has formed in the form of an act. It is called Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and every P&O, including drugs, now P&O devices are considered as drugs, so they are falling into, so they have got very strict rules and regulations. And on the other hand, innovators, I would like to cite you two examples where they faced challenges as a minimum viable product and services. Number one, there was a student in IIT Delhi. He understood that the tip of the rubber tip of the crutches, they were wearing off very easily, and it was difficult for the user of the crutches to go in different terrains like muddy terrains or uneven surfaces. So he designed the tip in such a way that it looks like a core of the foot. Now there are no BIS standards for this design. So he ran from door to door to authenticate his product, and I think still his product is not considered as a standard product in terms of licensing authorities, including BIS and including CDSCO. Similarly, one of my great friends from England, he conceptualized that the microprocessor knee joints, prosthetic knee joints, instead of batteries, if they have such a mechanism that they get charged by the use, that is a microkinetic technology. So he brought this microkinetic technology instead of microprocessor technology. The functions are same, functions of the microprocessor, which is run by a battery, and of the microkinetic knee joint, which is actually runs on the fluid, the functions are same. But he did not get US FDA approval, and it took almost 8 years for him to convince the authorities that it is not how it is getting the functions, but the functions are same. So this is the challenge you are absolutely head on, Dr. Raman, on this issue, and we have to see and we have to convince authorities as well. Having said that, I take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me for this mentoring session. Speaking and discussing about techniques of management have always remained very close to my heart. I started my career in 1991 as a research assistant. Then I became a manager, and now since 2008, I have been managing companies, establishing organizations. So besides my clinical expertise and besides my clinical practice during all throughout my career, I was implementing many methods and procedures of management without even recognizing that they were some kind of business management techniques, be it a clinical practice, project development, human resource management, accounting, finance, inventory management, supply chain management, all are part of management which I had to integrate into my clinical practice to run a successful business. So, and it so happened that out of my sheer passion to learn, that I have been attending, conferences, seminars, and events which are not only related to clinical aspect of my business, but also to the management aspect, which are integral part of my daily business life. So at this point, as the delegates, they are, I believe, from prosthetics and orthotic faculty. They are from physiotherapy faculty. They are from nursing, and I mean the core thing is that they are from medical side. So one might think that why there is a need, though Dr. Raman has very simplistically explained the need of a startup and business, but one may wonder why there is a need of having such a mentoring session on a very core topic, very deep-rooted topic such as lean startup and minimum viable product. So answer is very simple, and I can cite my example. As I being a clinical prosthetist and orthotist, I have been engaged in activities related not only to my clinical practice, but also to run and manage businesses. And I am sure many of from today's audience, they will also be engaged in similar activities in times to come. I was very fortunate that there were people around me available to mentor me, to guide me through these challenging topics. But it becomes imperative for the delegates to understand uh, and remain abreast about the management techniques upfront, so that when the opportunity presents itself, they can dive deep down in the ocean of information and bring about the right kind of answers for their challenges and activities. So I'm very glad to Uttara ma'am for considering me for this topic and allowing me to share my experience and understanding. I shall be uh, touching upon the topics as it is on the management's perspective, and then I will also be sharing my story, college path story, giving a perspective to these management topics. So thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to share my screen, and then we will take it from there. So I'm sharing my screen right now. So, overview of today's discussion is that I feel it customarily appropriate to have a brief mention or discussion about the startups to better understand the difference between startup and lean startups. Then I would be talking about lean startups, giving some examples of it, its principles, and methodology associated with it. I would also be talking about minimum viable product. Then I would share some information about the difference between startups and lean startups. And then I would be really happy to share College Park's story and the story of the Breeze Foot as a minimum viable product in Indian context. As Dr. Raman very rightly pointed out, that the product should be oriented towards customers' satisfaction and meeting their needs. Then only it becomes viable. How to make it minimum viable without avoid high cost, high tooling and wastages, and the challenges and the fear of failure, how we create a minimum viable product. So, taking the first topic of a startup, the definition according to Michel Grant, who has been a self-taught investor with good amount of experience as a financial trader, is that the term startup refers to a company in the first stages of its operations. Startups are generally founded by one or more entrepreneurs who want to develop a product or service for which they believe there is a demand. According to him, these companies generally start with high cost and limited revenue, which is why they took for capital from variety of sources such as venture capitalists. It is these common connotations that high cost and limited revenue, they present a challenge that they might fail. That is why the concept of lean startup came. So key takeaways regarding startups are that startup is a company that is in the initial stages of business. Founders normally finance their startups and may attempt to attract outside investment before they get off the ground. Funding sources include family and friends, venture capitalists, crowdfunding, and loans. Startups must also consider where they will do business and what will be their legal structure. Startups come with high risk as failure is very possible, but they can also be very unique places to work with great benefits, a focus on innovation, and a great opportunity to learn. India has emerged as a third largest ecosystem for startups, as there are almost 69,000 Department of Promotion of Industry and Innovation recognized startups across 647 districts of the countries as of 2nd May 2022. As of last month, there are 69,000 Government of India registered startups. The Indian unicorns are flourishing in the fast-paced dynamic economy today. These startups are not only developing innovative solutions and technology, but are generating large-scale employment as well. The Government of India has launched a special initiative, namely Startup India, under the Ministry of Commerce and Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. So startups are companies or ventures that are focused on single product or service that the founders want to bring to market. These companies typically don't have a we are trying to understand the fully developed business model, and more crucially lack adequate capital to move on to the next phase of business. Most of these companies are initially funded by the founders. Many startups turn to other for more funding, including the family, friends, and venture capitalists. Silicon Valley in America is known for its strong venture capitalists. I mean, uh, who doesn't know that the founder of Facebook, they approached the venture capitalists, then only the Facebook became what it is today. So strong venture capital community and is a popular destination for a startup, but it is also widely considered the most demanding area. So once you have a venture capitalist funding his money into your startup, they become very, very demanding. So startups can use their seed capital to invest in research and development activities as their business model. Market research helps determine the demand for a product or service, while comprehensive business plan outlines the company's mission statement, vision, and goals, as well as management and marketing strategies. So the first few years are very important for startups. This is a time that entrepreneurs should use to concentrate on raising capital and developing a business model. So location is very, very important as part of special considerations while working towards startups. Locations can make or break any business, and it is often one of the most important consideration for anything starting up in the business world. Startups must decide whether their business is conducted online or in an office or home office or in a store. The location depends on the product or service being offered. So I would like to, cite my example again here. In 1999 and 2000, I got a chance to establish and develop a rehabilitation center in Vasant Vihar area of Delhi. So Vasant Vihar is an area which is 90% populated by geriatric population, because most of their children, they are working abroad or outside Delhi. Now, geriatric population, they have got their own demands. They have osteoarthritic knees, they have hip pain, they have backaches, they may develop diabetic, things. So when we started a rehab center in that locality, physiotherapy department particularly became very, very popular because it was within their reach. It was in that vicinity. It was very, very easy for that population to access that physiotherapy center. So location played a very, very important role in the success of that rehab center. Similarly, legal structures. Startups need to consider what legal structure best fits their entity, whether it is going to be a proprietary startup, whether it is going to be a partnership startup, whether they are going to make it a private limited company, or whether they are going to, put a legal structure of limited liability partnership. So they have to consider the legal structure depending upon the size, the products and services they want to offer, and their understanding with their family and friends who may become part of that startup. And they legally, they also have to see that the compliances put in place by the government, they are also legally met. I gave you the example of this rehabilitation center in Vasant Vihar. After 3 years, we had to shut it down because legally it was not supposed to be running at that place. There was no permission from government authority to run that rehab center in that place. So a very good, very nice project oriented towards a particular population, very nicely located, had to be shut because it was not legally allowed I mean, the business was not allowed to be conducted over that place. And funding, as I mentioned, it is also very, very important part of special country considerations while we talk about startups. Funding may be from family, friends. Nowadays, crowdfunding is also happening. So we should have a look on type of startups. The small startups, it is very difficult to differentiate between general business and small startups. Rather, these terms, both the terms are intermittently used. But according to Government of India's policy, a startup should not be a generalized business, but should bring something unique for the business and the society at large. Then only they can be incorporated as startups, because Government of India gives many relaxations and benefits to these startups. So generally, we should not, if suppose from the audience, somebody, prosthetics or orthotics, they might want to open up a clinic. It might not be considered as a startup, since this would be considered as a generalized business. If they want to if they are bringing something unique, then they can register their business as a startup with the government authorities. Then viable startups, the concept here is that small teams build a business from scratch and sell it to the bigger company in the industry. We can have the examples of FlexFoot, which was built by a team as the most advanced dynamic response foot, and variants of FlexFoot. They were also the running foot, commonly known as blade foot. So team developed these dynamic and running blade feet, which was later on bought by Osur. Similarly, Touch Bionics in Scotland, they developed most advanced next generation bionic hand, which is known as iLimb. It was also later on bought by Osur. Similarly, Steeper in England, they developed B bionic hand. Probably this was the first next generation bionic hand, and it was later on bought by Autobot. So these are viable startups, wherein the entrepreneurs, they have an exit policy. They design and develop a product, create a business model, make it successful, then they sell it to larger groups and larger companies. Then scalable startups. There is a common thread to most of the startups, that there is a need to scale up. Most consumer and business applications are scalable. Once they have built a buzz in the market and have a user base, it is very easy to scale up. So there are many examples within India itself, like Swiggy, Ola, Oiroom, Flipkart. Flipkart was inaugurated by the novelist Chetan Bhagat as a small bookstore. Now see, they are giving competition to Amazon, though their fiscal situation is debatable, but still they are considered only challenge to Amazon. Then offshoot startups. So they are startups that comes out of a larger parent company. I mean, they are not really the startups, but they are part of a larger company or a group as a team, and then they mutually agree upon to part ways to establish their own startups. And I can give you a very good example within my company, College Park, which is of IPEX. So IPEX was the integral part of College Park up till 8 years ago, and it was a 6-degree freedom wireless gate device. It can be fitted in a prosthesis, and the researchers and the analysts can have a wireless. They can get data wireless without any connections. They can make patient walk around on plane surfaces, on stairs, on slopes, and then they can get temporal and spatial data. But later on, the technical team of IPEX, they approached management of College Park, and then they part ways. Now IPEX is a separate entity as a startup. So this can be a best example of offshoot startups. Then the social startups. Social startups are, as the name suggests, these are specifically designed for the sake of philanthropy. I'm not sure whether I can put Inali Foundation in India, Prashant Gade, who also appeared in Kaun Banega Crorepati, he developed a bioelectric hand in India, and then he incorporated this startup Inali Foundation, which we can take as an example of social startups. So let us move on to our main topic today, lean startup. So I believe all of us know, including the audience, the literal meaning of lean, which is light in weight, without bulk, easy to handle, easy to accommodate, easy to change, and most importantly, without waste. Waste of all kinds, including resources, be it financial resources or be it human efforts. So lean means avoiding waste. So when we talk about lean startup, all these things, the leanness, uh, they have been incorporated in business and industry. Why? To decrease the cost, increase the profit, meet the challenges pertaining to shift from a particular product or service or a business model as a whole towards something else. So lean means there is a term in the lean startup, pivot. Pivot means when they gather the data while considering a minimum viable product, that this product is not going to success, it is going to fail. They can pivot, they can change direction, they can change methods, they can change product itself. They can stop there. So lean means allowing decrease in the cost, increase in the profit, and allowing to change to take place. So in business and industry, the concept of lean thinking aims to provide a new way to think about how to organize human activities to deliver more benefit and values while eliminating waste. The aim of lean thinking is to create a lean enterprise that sustains growth by aligning customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and offers innovative products and services profitably while minimizing unnecessary overcost to customers, suppliers, and environment. The lean movement finds its values in better performance and continuous movements. How we can do it? We can do it by, let's say, just-in-time inventory. For example, if I would like to cite the example of Maruti. Instead of keeping a very huge inventory, considering the lead time, the requirement, they have asked vendor to keep that inventory for them. So if they need a particular part tomorrow, they will order it today and it should come into the factory tomorrow. So this is just-in-time kind of inventory. So this creates a leanness in inventory management. So this entails implementation of just-in-time, that is minimum requirements, and at the time when it is actually required. Each and every action should be measurable, including that of predictions. An action which cannot be measured is useless. It is always better to know than believe. I would like to know. I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe saying somebody that there is a good opportunity in the northeastern part or in some other. I want to know whether the opportunity is there or not. So actions, including predictions, they should be measurable. Lean thinking allows implementation of all quality practices to enable development cycle as short as possible. So when we bring leanness into our business, the development of a product or a service, development cycle, the time taken, it becomes shortest. So when we join the words and its business meaning with, when we join the word lean and its business meaning with the startup, it becomes lean startup. And the concept of lean startup actually was proposed by one financial expert. This gentleman's name was Eric Ries, and it was proposed and promoted since 2008. He actually wrote a very nice book about lean startup and minimum viable product. So as I mentioned that Eric proposed the lean startup methodology using his personal experience adapting lean management and customer development principles to high-tech startup companies. The methodology has since been expanded to apply to any individual team or company looking to develop new products, services, or systems without unlimited resources. The lean startup's reputation is due in part of success of Eric's best-selling book, The Lean Startup, which was published in the year 2011. Eric mentioned that his first company failed because he and his colleagues did not understand the needs of their target customers. See, this is very important. He himself agreed and mentioned that his first company failed because they could not understand the needs of target customers and because they focused too much time and energy on the initial product launch, which was actually not needed by the customers. So this gave him an insight and thoughtfulness as to how product should be developed with the lean methods and startup methods. So a lean startup is a method used to found a new company or introduce a new product on behalf of an existing company. The lean startup method advocates developing products that customers have already demonstrated their desire so that a market will already exist as soon as the product is launched, as opposed to developing a product and then hoping that demand will emerge. So it's the reverse cycle. We already know that this product is going to going to be successful in the market because it is based on the customer's requirement. It is based on the customer satisfaction, not that we develop product first and impose it on the customers. Lean startup emphasizes customer feedback over intuition. What I assume is not important. What I assume is like I believe, and customer feedback is that what I know. So I would give, or the Eric gave preference to knowing than believing. And he also emphasized flexibility over planning. Planning is always rigid. There is no, if we talk about, for example, budget is a financial plan. So once we create a budget, it becomes sort of rigid. It does not allow flexibility. But lean startup method, it has to have flexibility. It cannot have rigidity. Flexibility to turn around, to take necessary steps, to change, to modify. So these kind of flexibility. So he emphasized that lean startup should be based on customer feedback rather than intuitions and assumptions, and flexibility rather than planning. So this methodology enables recovery from failures more often than traditional ways of product development. So once we decide to stop, the cost is less, the time is less, we conserve energy, we conserve money, we conserve finances, we conserve human efforts, and we know that why it is not working. And on the other hand, if the data and the customer feedback is on the right direction, then we can move forward. So central to the lean startup methodology is the assumption that when startup companies invest their time into iteratively building products or services to meet the needs of customers, the company can reduce market risk and sidesteps the need for large amount of initial project funding and expensive product launches and financing. We need not have large amount as initial capital We need not have expensive products launches. And we can avoid financial failures in that way. And the examples of lean startup, Dropbox. This file transfer service now has over 5 million users worldwide, but it started as a minimum viable product in the form of a 3-minute screencast showing consumers what Dropbox could do. Initially, when it started, it could show only 3 minutes screencast, and the team developed it as a minimum viable product. Now, see what is the scalability. 500 million users of Dropbox, and you all know that, and you all use Dropbox to transfer your files, be it photographs, be it Word document, be it videos. We all use Dropbox very easily too. So response to video enabled Dropbox to test if there was a demand for the product, and at the same time capture an initial audience through a waiting list. But most importantly, comments on the video provided a way for Dropbox to gain high quality feedback from the target customers, which the team subsequently used to shape product development in live customer. Zappos, another great example that Eric gave as lean startup in action, comes from Zappos, one of the first online shoe store, which now sells everything from boots to bag. When Zappos started in 1999, its founder did not know if customers were ready to buy shoes online. So he could have gone away, bought stock, developed inventory system, built a network of distribution, built a large warehouse, and then website, and then launched. Instead, the owner approached local shoe stores, took pictures of their inventory, posted the pictures online on a basic website, and he received an order. He would buy it from the store. When he receives an order, he would buy it to store and supply it to the customer directly. So this approach soon proved that customer demand was present, and Zappos would eventually grow into a billion-dollar business based on this model. Now, all the online companies like Swiggy, Zomato, uh, and there are online shoe stores as well. They are doing the same things. So this has given a new piece of new dimension to lean startups. So these were new startups. Now the General Electric has been present, in the business arena almost over 100 years. So it is not just these information technology companies that have harnessed the advantages of lean startup methodology. General Electric has also worked closely with the lean startup methods, and particularly with Eric, to develop a program called FastWorks. This program designed to infuse the company's approach to product development with the lean startup principles. So General Electric also used lean startup methods and minimum viable product development techniques, and they infused these FastWorks almost among 40,000 of their employees, and then they become successful. If we talk about the similar things in India, Swiggy, which was started by two technocrats in Bangalore in 2014, when they started supplying, they collaborated with the sweet shops and restaurants and food stores to supply their items. After some time, they realized that there is already a customer base. They are ordering online. And what if they also start supplying groceries and milks and ice creams and shakes and other household items used in kitchens and this thing? So they introduced Instamart as a service, which became a minimum viable product, and it instantly became hit. I personally have used Instamart whenever I'm traveling and nobody from my family could go to a milk store. And it is unbelievable that within 10 minutes the milk reaches my house. So these are some examples of lean startups and how they have utilized minimum viable products. So startup success can be engineered by following the process. Process is nothing but the methodology, which means the process or methodology can be learned, which means it can be taught. These these were the mentions of Eric Ries. The lean startup method teaches us how to drive a startup, how to steer it, when to turn, and when to preserve and grow a business with maximum acceleration. Using the lean startup approach, companies can create order, not chaos, by providing tools to test a vision continuously. So measurement of the hypothesis and by virtue of data collection is a tool that actually provides and avoid chaos to take place. So by the time the product is ready to be distributed widely, we already know that there are established customers. So methodology actually works around these four elements. Eliminate uncertainty. The lack of tailored management processes has led many startups under conditions of extreme uncertainty abandon all the processes. Because of uncertainty, they have abandoned all the processes. They take a just to do it approach that avoids all form of management. But this is not the only option. Using the lean startup approach, companies can create order by providing tools to test a vision continuously. Lean isn't simply about spending less money. Lean isn't just about failing fast, failing cheap. It's all about putting a process, a method around developing a product. The lean startup methodology has a premise that every startup is a grand experiment that attempts to answer a question. The question is not, can this product be built? Instead, we should ask questions, should this product be built? And can we build a sustainable business around this set of products and services? This experiment is more than just theoretical inquiry. It is first product. If it is successful, it allows a manager to get started with his or her campaign, enlisting early adopters, adding employees to each further experiment or iteration, and eventually starting to build product. By the time that product is ready to be distributed widely, it will already have established customer. So it will have solved real problems and offer detailed specification for what need to be built. So working smarter is the key, not working harder. Hard working is always there, is the basic quality for everyone to make anything, be it a project, be it enterprise, be it a business, to successful. But we need to bring smartness in that hard workmanship when we are talking about or when we are adopting methods of lean startup. And this is the most important thing in the lean startup setup, developing a minimum viable product. So if you pay attention to lean startup process diagram, there is a process in place, there is a methodology in place that first of all, we need to have hypothesis, an idea. It may be the riskiest assumption. Then we need to build a hypothesis around this. As a minimum viable product, we need to see what is the capital good that is required, minimum capital goods, what is the minimum material that can be used. So all thing lean should be built around this thing. Then we build the product, then measure it, measuring by means of customer feedbacks, employees feedbacks, feedback from the market. We analyze this data and we try to learn whether we should stop there or we should move forward. So this is a process diagram to develop a minimum viable product. So progress in manufacturing is measured by the production of high quality goods. The unit of progress for lean startup is validated learning, a rigorous methods for demonstrating progress when one is embedded in the soil of extreme uncertainty. So if we talk about the first point, eliminate uncertainty, uncertainty would be eliminated only by validated learning. If we have data and if we can validate that data, then we can avoid uncertainty in our business model. So once entrepreneurs embrace validated learning, the development process can shrink substantially. When we focus on figuring the right thing to build, the thing customer wants and will pay for it, we need not spend months waiting for a product to launch or to change the company's direction. Instead, entrepreneurs can adapt their plans incrementally, inch by inch, minute by minute. Thus, we can say the lean startup provides a scientific approach to creating and managing startups and get a desired product to customer hands faster. I shall be sharing College Park's experience because I find it perfect example of a startup. Though it was established way back in 1988, but College Park India was founded in 2012, and activities of both the College Park USA resembles as that of a startup, and activities of College Park India resembles activities as that of lean startup. So in next few slides, I would be sharing my experience with College Park USA and College Park India. So the methodology is there are 4 points that we can take as process. We need to eliminate uncertainty. We need to work smarter. We need to develop a product as a minimum viable product, and then we need to have a validated learning. We need to gather data, and then we need to validate. These are the 4 main elements as part of methodology for any lean startup business model. So let us discuss about minimum viable product. A minimum viable product is a concept from lean startup that stresses the impact of learning in new product development. Eric defined minimum viable product as the version of a new product which allows a team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about customers with least effort. A key premise behind the idea of minimum viable product is that we produce an actual product that we can offer to customers and observe their actual behavior with the product or service. Seeing what people actually do with respect to product is much more reliable than asking people what they would like to do. So again, I would like to repeat this sentence: seeing what people actually do with the product is much more reliable than asking people what they would like to do. Again, I shall be speaking about the story of Breeze prosthetic foot, as we experience practically exactly the actual behavior of customers with this foot as a minimum viable product. So minimum viable product, the expected benefits, the primary benefit of a minimum viable product is that we can gain understanding about our customers' interest in our product without fully developing the product. The sooner we can find out whether our product will appeal to customers, the less effort and expense we spend on product that will not succeed in the market. So we can avoid avoid the loss of finances and our efforts in the product, that is not going to succeed. There are many examples of such products in India which have not succeeded, particularly in our P&O industry as well. So the disadvantage, or maybe we can say common pitfalls. Sometimes teams use the term most viable product, but don't fully understand its intended use or meaning. Minimum should not be taken as minimum finance, minimum effort. So they misunderstood the concept when the management, or when the company, or when the organization, they give a task to a team to develop a minimum viable product. Team assumes uh, uh, wrongly about its intended meaning. Often this lack of understanding manifests in believing that a most minimum viable product is the smallest amount of functionality they can deliver without the additional criteria of being sufficient to learn. Again, I would like to tell you, when I was talking about Greasefoot, that what were the criteria that we used, and the functionality was there. We did not dare to bring about minimum functionality. The Breezefoot provided all the functionality as a product itself. Further, teams may also confuse minimum viable product with a focus on delivering something without considering whether it is the right something that satisfies customers' needs. Moreover, teams stress the minimum part of minimum viable product to exclusion of viable part. So they pay more attention to the word minimum than word viable. So this is the most common pitfall of minimum viable product. The product delivered is not sufficient quality to provide an accurate assessment of whether customers will use it or not. So teams deliver what they consider as a minimum viable product, and then do not do any further changes to that product regardless of feedback. So these are some of the challenges, common challenges, that a team which is dealing with minimum viable product may think or may understand by the literal meaning of the word minimum, words minimum viable products. When I talk about potential cost, it does not mean the financial cost. Rather, proper use of a minimum viable product means that a team may dramatically change a product that they deliver to their customers, or abandon the product together based on feedback they receive from. So this is the potential cost. Changing in the product or abandoning the product. This might be considered as a potential cost to a minimum viable product. The minimum aspect encourages teams to do the least amount of work possible to useful feedback, which helps them avoid working on a product that no one wants. So this is the potential cost. So the concept of minimum viable product gained popularity after Eric Ries described it in his book, The Lean Startup, in the year 2009. A team effectively uses minimum viable product as the core piece of a strategy of experimentation. They hypothesize that their customers have a need, and that the product the team is working on satisfies that need. The team then delivers something to those customers in order to find out if, in fact, the customers will use the product to satisfy these needs. Based on the information gained from this experiment, the team continues, changes, cancels, work on that particular product. So these are some of the considerations associated with the minimum viable products. at this juncture, we should discuss something about difference between traditional business and lean startup business model. Lean startups versus traditional business. So by employing lean startup principles, product developers can gauge consumer interest in the product and determine how the product might need to be refined. This process is called validated learning, and it can be utilized to avoid the unnecessary use of resources in product creation and development. Though lean startup, if an idea is likely to fail, it will fail quickly. So we know that without investing too much money, too much effort, too much time, this product is going to fail and we should stop working on that. So this is how we can gauge consumers' interest in that particular product. Lean startup method also differentiate itself from the traditional businesses model when it comes to hiring. Lean startups hire workers who can learn, adapt, and work quickly, while traditional businesses hire workers based on experience and abilities. Lean startups also use different financial reporting metrics. Instead of focusing on income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements, they focus on customer acquisition costs, lifetime customer values, customer churn rate, and how viral their product could be. So for lean startup method, financial reporting metrics are not important, though they are important as part of any business, but they as part of lean startup principle, there is more attention towards customer feedback. Experimentation versus detailed planning. The lean startup method considers experimentation to be more valuable than detailed planning. 5-year business plan built around unknowns are considered a waste of time, and customer reaction, on the other hand, is considered as paramount. So, so this is another element of differentiating between lean startup models and traditional business models. And instead of business plan, lean startup use a business model based on hypotheses that are tested rapidly. Data does not need to be completed before proceeding. It just needs to be sufficient. I mean, we need not have a bigger data. We need to have a sufficient amount of data. When customers do not react as desired, the startup quickly adjusts to limit its losses and return to developing products consumer wants. Failure is the rule, not the exception. So these are the considerations differentiating between lean startups and traditional business models. In summary, the lean startup methods first identifies a problem that needs to be solved. It then develops a minimum viable product or the smallest form of the product that allows entrepreneurs to introduce it to the potential customers for feedback. This method is faster, less expensive than developing the final product for testing, and reduces the risk that startups face by decreasing their typical high failure rate. Lean startup redefines a startup as an organization that is searching for a scalable business model, not one that has an existing business plan that it is determined to execute. So in summary, we can always say or always look upon what I said in the beginning of this session, that the literal definition of word lean is to remain lightweighted, to avoid bulkiness, to avoid any kind of waste, is a lean startup method. Now let us spend some time on College Park as to how this novel venture started and how it became popular worldwide, and then how it came to India, and how we developed one product as a minimum viable product to meet the demands of customers in India. So College Park in USA is situated in Detroit, which is the automobile hub of USA. When I specifically and deliberately using the word automobile hub, when some places are like automobile hub, they have engineering capacities available best to their potentials. So machining, die making, tool making, tooling, they are there in the environment of and the blood of the citizens of Detroit. So when I say it is automobile hub, it means it is an engineering hub. Likewise, we talk about Silicon Valley, we instantly know that it is about information technology, it is about microprocessor, it is about computer chips. So similarly, when we talk about Detroit, it means we talk about automobiles. Ford industry is there, and there are Daimler Chrysler is there, and other many other automobile industries are there. So there is no dearth of engineering expertise and industry in Detroit. So one fine day in 1986, probably, a local machinist, he happened to see a movie Nache Mayuri, the Indian movie Nache Mayuri. And the lead actress of this movie was a lady named Sudha Chandran. Actually, she was a classical dancer and she lost her leg in an accident. And in 1984, she was fitted with a Jaipur foot prosthesis. And she continued practicing with the prosthesis. And she gave a performance of 2.5 hours. Her first performance was 2.5 hours. And some people in Bollywood, they got interested in her story and they produced this film. This movie came in Telugu first, and then it was dubbed in Hindi, and it became a hit worldwide. So this gentleman, this machinist, this engineer, he happened to watch this movie, and then he got inspired. He was very fascinated by Jaipur Fort, and out of his curiosity, he started collecting more information about it and thought, when such a simple, Jaipur Fort is a very simple foot, can do wonders. What if actually anatomy of the actual anatomical movements are placed in a prosthetic foot? So he contacted a local podiatrist to understand how foot and ankle functions, its anatomy, its physiology, and its biomechanics. He then went to a product design a foot using his information from that podiatrist. He used his engineering skill to develop the first foot which he considered as mimicking the anatomical movement of a foot by replicating the bones and tendons through composites, bumpers, and prosthetics. So it instantly became hit among the amputee population and prosthetists. And it was called True Step, the real step. As you can see on your screen, this image, it has got a split toe mechanism, which allows walking on uneven terrains. It has got articulation at 2 points. So multi-axial or the polycentric rotation is possible. It has got an anterior bumper. It has got a posterior bumper, which allows dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. It has got bushings with axle and pins, which allows inversion and eversion. And this pyramid head, when it is connected with the tube adapters, it can also bring about rotational changes. So all the 6 movements of foot and ankle were possible with this foot. So this was really called as an anatomical foot. So he designed this foot, and when it became this, his design became success. In 1988, he incorporated this company as a startup. So he in 1988, this company was incorporated, and both the gentleman, the podiatrist, and this machinist, they were sitting in the room. They become the entrepreneurs, the founder of this company. And when they were sitting in the room, they were thinking about giving a name to this company. So on the one side of the room, there was a college, and on the other side of the room, there was a park. So they instantly named their company as College Park. So when we started this company in India, and when people started coming to our clinic, by seeing the board College Park, they thought this is an educational institute rather than it is an artificial limb center and manufacturing company of prosthetic products. So this is how the College Park Industries came into picture. So since the release of True Step, College Park has gone on to design and develop many other innovative prosthetic feet that utilizes their proprietary IntelliWave composite technology. Because he was engineer, he brought about composite technology, because the composite technology allows energy storing and return, the dynamic response mechanism. So all the College Park feet are based on energy storing and return. They are not like Satch foot. We don't use Satch foot at all in our company and in our clinic. So all our feet are energy storing and energy return. So if we see the College Park's initial journey, it resembles exactly the definition of startup. There was this gentleman, he developed one product, he saw an opportunity, he incorporated his company as a startup, then he expanded his company by bringing in more products. Then he created international, first of all, national distribution network, then international distribution network. That's how this company also came into India. So this is, we can always take College Park Industries story as a successful story of a startup. At this juncture, I'm glad to share the development and release of Breeze Foot, which actually was designed keeping in mind the needs of Indian amputees, the Indian customers. So on the left side of your screen is a Breeze Foot. Again, it has got a composite core with the energy storing and return properties. It has got a foot shell, which is water friendly, and it has got, we on the right side of your screen, there is a small 1 mm thick sole thread which can be fixed uh, uh, like again you can see on your the image on the left side, that sole thread is pasted on the sole of the foot, so it allows barefoot walking. And there is a smooth roll over. If you pay attention towards right side of the screen, there is a smooth rollover characteristics of this thing. So when we started our operations in India, once we incorporated our company in 2012, we only had Satch foot, which was costing around 5,000 rupees as the lowest priced foot at that time. And Tribute foot, next to Satch foot, next level of foot was Tribute foot, which was costing 35,000. There was nothing between 5,000 and 35,000 rupees. I mean, we had on our plate something which is very low cost, 5,000 rupees, and then 35,000 rupees. So we started receiving feedback that there should be something between these two price ranges. There should be something around 15,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, then it will be viable. So cost was one criteria to develop as a minimum viable product, which was a feedback from the customers. The second criterion, that the foot should meet the essential functional requirements, means it should have dynamic response or energy storing and return features. Likewise, I said earlier that the functionality in a minimum viable product should not be compromised. So this is the second criterion that we kept, that the functionality, full functionality should be there in a foot, which should be priced between, from 5,000 rupees to 35,000 rupees. And we also received feedback that most of the high-tech feet, they do not allow barefoot walking, which is very, very essential in most of the part. It is a socio-cultural requirement. It is a socio-cultural functionality, like dynamic response or energy storing and return is the physiological functionality, biomechanical functionality. Barefoot walking is socio-cultural functionality. So this was another feedback that we received. And the foot should be water friendly. So these were the 4 feedback that we received from our customers, including both our amputee population and prosthetists. So keeping in mind, our technical team started working on these feedbacks and developed a foot having a keel of composite IntelliWeave materials. I would like to take you back again. This is, if you can see my pointer, this is the keel within a foot shell. So it should be made of IntelliWeave. IntelliWeave is that the carbon, the fibers are cross-weaved. They are not put in a linear direction. So when the fibers are cross-weaved, they bring about more strength, more impact resistance, and there is a because of the fiber, there is a dynamic response mechanism within that. And also, the team developed a sole thread, which is on the right side of your skin, which can be pasted on the bottom of the sole. They made a simple hole at the bottom of the sole, which allows drainage of water. If the user, they happen to navigate through water on the street, or they face some rain, or somehow they find themselves in a watery situation, ankle high water, the water instantly drains out of the foot shell, so it becomes water friendly. And at that time, when we launched it in 2014, it was merely costing around 10,000. As of now, it's cost, after 8 years, it costs 17,500. Maybe to the end user, it might be 20,000 rupees. So, and I'm glad that I would like to share that today the breeze foot is used in highest number in India, and has become very popular among prosthetists, as they can now provide a high-end prosthesis cost effective. So College Park story, College Park's USA story resembles the startups, and the story of breeze foot resembles the minimum viable product. So we made this product very, very successful in India. We keep on improving that. We keep on receiving feedback about the performance of this foot, and we shall keep improving on the feedback from customers. So I think I have this much of information to share in today's session. Thank you very much, Uttara ma'am. I think I am not running late. I was not too fast for the session.
Absolutely, sir. You were very up to the mark, and whatever you have explained, it was a really, I think our students and the attendees, they must have understood what is the each and every word's meaning. You have explained in a very detailed manner. So,
thank you. One of my suggestion is that if possible, because in institutions there are core subjects, more attention is paid to the core subjects. In our case, these are medical subjects like, in first year, second year, third year. But when our students go out, they might face, they might get opportunities working as leading as HODs, as workshop planners, as running the business. So if possible, maybe in times, maybe 1 week or 2 times, I would like to also request for a session on financial business modeling, how they should assess what is required to create a business and how to successfully run it. Financial business modeling is very important. Somebody from a prosthetic orthotic side, somebody from physiotherapy, somebody from any other faculty, they want to open up their own business. Or if they are in a position where their institution, their management asked to create a budgeting, to create a financial model for a particular project, how to create that financial modeling. I would love to talk about.
Noted down, sir. Noted down. Definitely, we will organize a session.
So at this juncture, I wish you, ma'am, all the best. I wish all the best to all the faculties and your institutional innovation councils. May your institute become one of the pioneer institutions in prosthetics, orthotics, and other medical fraternity. All the best for your future endeavors. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to take over Dr. Raman P. Yadav, sir.
First of all, it was a really excellent presentation, and I really liked this presentation in view of the different aspects. Tarun nicely explained the different type of first startup.
Exactly, sir.
And differentiated the normal or general business from the lean startup. The most important, his whole conversation was around how to craft and how to architect your startup in reference to the business. That I really appreciate this type of approach. One thing I would like to mention about here from the Tarun's presentation by the Eric Rich mentioned about the startup and the basic concept. And this concept can be implemented at the higher education level. Tarun, recently new education policy came by the government of India. And the new education policy nicely gave the like stage of the student and the faculty can start a startup. So once this is the lean startup, probably in my opinion, will be one of the finest way to take the student, because you talk about the student, about the startup, so many questions they will ask. Probably the lean startup will be the right model in reference to the new education policy. So this, Tarun nicely explained everything, new terminology that I had gone through. So I'm really, really happy to have this type of presentation. And it was not only the business model or the startup, he was basically giving a presentation like a professor in the university. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It was really.
Yeah, please go ahead, Uttara.
No, it was really a great presentation. Small things you have explained, you have elaborated in such a nice way, right from the definitions and exact meaning of two different all the concepts you have cleared very clearly. You have cleared all the concepts.
Thank you, Dr. Raman sir and Utra ma'am. It is my pleasure that I was of some use at your university, and I present myself whenever you need. You just let me know a topic, and if that is of my forte, I would definitely love to. Time and other things are irrelevant. I have been associating with academic activities, and I would love to continue with this. Regarding this new education policy and regarding lean startup within the university, including faculty and students, I would love to be associated. But recently, I am facing a challenge. Even my company in US, it has been bought over by OSO. Now, it started as a startup, then it became a viable startup. So the shareholders of my company, they exited, and now my parent company in US, they are part of Osur Group. By virtue of that, College Park India is also part of Osur. So there are some strategic planning and changes going on. So I cannot commit by virtue of my association with my parent company in US. Had it been not the case where my company was taken over by somebody else, I would have loved to bring in my company in US, because they are also very passionate about research, development, and academic activities. I would love to share that in 2014 and 15, Alimco, the Indian entity, the government of India entity, they floated a request for proposal for technology transfer, and the College Park was the front runner. They immediately expressed their willingness to transfer their technology. But as of now, since we are part of a bigger company, it is difficult for me to commit that I would bring them over for this startup thing at your university. But definitely on personal capacity, I would love to be associated.
Thank you very much, sir, for your assuring words. And you are a really true academician.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to request all the participants to switch on their cameras just for the sake of we'll have one good photograph.
Uttara, you can take the few questions from the student side.
Yes, yes, sir.
So if they have.
Yes, sir. If any students are willing to ask any questions, sir is free to answer. Anyone would like to ask any questions? I think students.
Uttara ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I am saying even if the student, they do not have questions right now, might
Yes.
be they develop some questions at a later stage.
Yes,
So
sir.
even in that situation also, they could come to you and you can send me an email. I would love to provide answers to those questions.
Sure, sure, sir. Actually, right now all the questions are students are not accessible also for asking questions. So no issues. We can later on also we can forward the questions from the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
much, sir.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
Whenever
Just-
I'll be in Mumbai, I'll try and come and meet you guys.
Sure, welcome, welcome,
Sure,
welcome,
sir.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
switching off, leaving the meeting now. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to hand it over to just 2 minutes, sir. Concluding
Okay.
remarks. Ms.
Okay.
Simranjit Kaur is our faculty. She will. I'll hand it over to her. She will just give a concluding remarks. Thank you.
It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this event. I, Dr. Simranjit Kaur, PNO, on behalf of MGM Institute's University Department of Prosthetics and Orthotics, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Honorable Medical Director Sir Dr. Sudhir Kadam, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Dr. Shashank Dalvi, Pro Vice Chancellor Sir Dr. Nitin Kadam, and Registrar Sir Dr. Rajesh Goyal, who blessed us with their direct or indirect presence. I would like to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Tarun Kulshrestha, for mentoring the students of MGM Institute of Health Sciences. I am grateful to Dr. Raman P. Yadav, convener of IIC and Technical Director, MGM IHS Omics Research Center, MGM IHS Navi Mumbai, for his support and directions. I would like to thank the external member of IIC, Dr. Paresh Banushali, Dr. Becky Thomas, and Dr. Nitin Tiwari. I am grateful to Dr. Sabita Ram, Research Director, Dr. Rita Khatkikar, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Kavita More, Faculty Member of IIC, and all the head of institutions from Navi Mumbai and Aurangabad campus for their presence and support in the event. I would like to thank Dr. Uttara Deshmukh, Head of Department at MGM IUDPO, for their immense guidance and efforts to organize the event. A big thanks to our dear students and faculties of various institutes. Last but not least, I am thanking to IT manager and his team for their continuous support. Thank you everyone to make this event successful. I request all the attendees to please stand for national anthem.
I think there is a again some technical issue is there. So I'll start. Please, I'll start with the singing of national anthem. Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkal Vanga Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jaladhi Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jage Tava Shubha Ashish Mange Gahe Tava Jaya Gatha Jana Gana Mangaladayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He. Thank you very much. Thank
Now
you.
I can switch off, ma'am.
Yes, yes, sure.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir.